All right, we'll go ahead and get started. Thank you, everyone that was able to jump on today. Originally, we were going to cancel this, but right after I canceled it, I got quite a few questions, and so I thought we might just use this time to answer or address some of those questions. And then, in addition, NATP had sent me some other questions as well recently, so I've added those on as well. So. Before we get into that, I do have just a couple updates. First and foremost, so with the holidays upcoming, the state offices are going to be closed December 25th and January 1st. We do have staff that are going to be in and out for the next couple of weeks just because of leave that we need to get used up. So there should be someone here, so just make sure that you CC somebody else on your emails if you need to get those answered, and we'll try and get them addressed as soon as we can. Staffing. So we made you all aware we lost Linda not too long ago. So we are working on filling that position. In addition, Carly's accepted another position. So her last day will be January 2nd. And so we are going to start the process of filling that as well. So we will do our very best to, if I'm getting so we will do our best to stay on top of everything. If there's something that you're not getting a quick enough response on, just let us know. We'll try and jump on it as quick as we can. And then the other update, so I sent out an invitation to everyone for June 4th and June 5th. That's just a tentative hold right now. I just wanted to get it on everyone's calendars as soon as we could. Everyone's aware we're transitioning to Black Hat. And that will be, so training is going to take place hopefully on those 2 days. They will walk you through everything. They're an excellent resource. They'll walk you through how you access the portal, how you would submit your invoices through there, how you would look at what your funding apportionments are, all those fun things. So right now, that's when we have them tentatively scheduled. We're working on whether they're going to be online, in person, or hybrid. So once we get those details finalized, I will update that invitation and let you guys know as soon as I do. So if you could, just make sure that that's on your calendar. All right, I believe those are all of my updates. Now, there was a lot of questions. A lot of them were the same question. They might just be different iterations. So we went through all of them. So I'm going to go through all of my notes based off of what we received. And then if you guys have questions at the end, we'll open it up. If we can answer it, we will. If not, we'll circle back and get everybody an answer. So, and I'm sorry, my voice is hanging on. So bear with me. All right. So for funding, there was a lot of questions regarding this. So, and where we get it from. So NDOT receives FTA funds through a few apportionments. We have our 5311 program, which is our rural program. Within that is our intercity bus program, or 5311F. We also have 5339, which is our capital, 5310, which is elderly and disabled, and then 5305, which is our planning. So those are the apportionments we receive annually. We have no part in determining the apportionment that we receive from FTA for those apportionments or programs. And additionally, I want to note that the federal funds that are used for, that we get for 5311F, like I mentioned a minute ago, those are used for both rural and intercity bus, meaning 15% of that total apportionment automatically goes to intercity bus. So just so that that's clear, because I think there was some misunderstanding there. In addition, so the grant management system that you guys use to submit your invoices, where you apply for vehicles, dispose of vehicles, all that stuff, that comes out of the 5311 grant, in addition to our drug and alcohol testing and training are pulled from 5311. The mobility management contract was ended last year, so that's no longer an expense, but that was being pulled from 5311 also. So right now, for this fiscal year, the state is covering the training expenses for fiscal 26, but we will have to determine what we will do next year. But I just wanted to point that out because that was quite a few questions as to, is there anything else in addition to just your apportionments that was pulled from that? So in the past, I know I've mentioned this multiple times, but I'm going to just say it again, just so that everybody's clear. So NDOT did not use all of the apportionment in the past and was able to carry over funds to the next fiscal year. So there was a lot of questions on what carryover is. So that's just an example. So if we got $10 million, let's say we only used 8 of it, that 2 million then would be carried over to the next fiscal year and added to that next pot of money, and so on and so forth. In addition, NDOT had been awarded CARES funds, which supplemented the 5311 operations or 5311 program, intercity bus program, vehicles, technology. Back. Sorry about that. So all good things, because given the growth of transit across the state, that was good to have those funds. However, we've expanded, as everyone's aware. So at this point, we do not have any remaining carryover, and the CARES funds are all accounted for. So, which brings me to, I had a few questions regarding supplements. So in the past, if a subrecipient was low at the end of the year, NDOT would supplement to cover those expenses. As we've mentioned previously, we won't be able to do that anymore because we don't have the funds to supplement. And when we do supplement, that takes away from the overall pot of money that would eventually affect the next fiscal year. So going forward, if the subrecipient runs out of, let's say, FTA or state funds that were awarded to them for that fiscal year that they were operating within, then you would, if there's not the funds there, then you would receive a reduced reimbursement until those funds are depleted. If this happens, though, this was another question, you would still need to go in and enter your statistics or submit an invoice so that we can report to NTD. Just a side note, a few of you have asked, well, how do I track that? Highly recommend keeping an eye. So once you submit your invoice, at the end, you get your invoice summary. On there, it shows your remaining balances. So once you submit the invoice, it will deduct that amount from your current balance. And so just keep an eye on that. Other questions, state funding. So there was a question of what do we get for state funding? So Program 305 is the state funding that we receive. This is a yearly apportionment that we get. It's just over $6 million. That sounds like a lot of money, but once you break it down, it covers the intercity bus allotment of $535,000, which is the match for that. And then the rest covers the 5311 program match, the vehicle match, and then the small urban systems under the Nebraska Public Transportation Act program. So somebody had asked me about that. Again, the apportionment for the states or from FTA, that one changes pretty much every fiscal year. The one from the state does not. So just to clarify that. What's used as far as what data is used to for FTA's apportionment. So a lot of times you guys have heard me that NTD does affect the apportionment that the states get. That the data that you guys enter, your revenue hours, revenue miles, all that data, that's reported. That's the information that FTA uses as part of their formula to apportion funds. So just to clarify that. The other thing was we've been receiving quite a few requests to provide funding and ridership statistics for all the subrecipients across the state. We have done a big data poll. We are cleaning it up right now. So I will send that out to everybody. It has everything on here, but before I do that, I want to make sure everyone understands what I'm sending you. So all fiscal year funding amounts that are going to be sent to you are actual expenditures. They're not what you were awarded, that's what you actually spent, with the exception of fiscal 26. The fiscal 26 numbers are on a separate tab. Those are the numbers that were awarded to you for fiscal 26. Now, the note is for fiscal 26, they were based on estimated projections with the invoices we had processed for fiscal 25. NDOT awarded higher than what we had received. With that, that was due to the last 2 months of operating expenses that were submitted for fiscal 25 were significantly higher than we had projected they would be. In addition, not all of the invoices for fiscal 25 were submitted. So that's why you're going to see the number is going to be a little higher than what we should have awarded. Let's see here. Other questions were, actually, we got quite a few questions as far as where the status of invoices are. So all of our 5311 subrecipients, with the exception of one, are requesting reimbursement in fiscal 26. We have one that's still pretty far behind. So until we close out fiscal 25, it's going to be extremely difficult for NDOT to determine those fiscal 27 awards will be. As far as funding in the future, so many of you had heard me speak about funding formula the last couple meetings. Just to reiterate, again, I'm just answering all the questions we've had. To reiterate, this is a funding assistance program. It's not intended to cover all the expenses. So you should be seeking other revenues or other avenues of funding in addition to what you're receiving from FTA, which many of you know from meeting the local match. NDOT our goal is to transition to a funding formula. We've hired UNO to help us build that out. Our goal is to pull in revenue miles, revenue hours, boardings, and fares or revenue to apportion those funds going forward. Target for us to have that ready for review would be by the end of January. Once we have that ready, I will be coordinating with Cassandra to form a working group that would include roughly 2 subrecipients per region that varies in size and coverage to review the formula and provide some input prior to ever finalizing it. This, per our update to our Title VI plan, this would then go in front of the Highway Commission, and then it would go to FTA for approval because it would need to be added to our state management plan before implementing. So it would be effective, it would go into effect for the fiscal year 28 applications. But my goal is to use the formula to award each subrecipient a lump sum amount, and then you would budget that in Black Cat along with your application requirements for approval by NDOT. And we can go through that with Black. And like I said, June is when we're targeting training with Black Cat, so they would walk you through how all that works because we have not seen that part yet. Other questions were project administration. So given the demand on 5311 funds, our expenses are covered by the state. Now, they're not billed to the 5311 grant anymore. So in addition, consultants that we've hired to support the drug and alcohol program, Title VI, the TAM plan, and the state management plan redo, those are all paid for by the state as well. Sorry, I'm going through, there was a lot. Program 5307 was brought up. That is dispersed to Lincoln and Omaha. No changes to that apportionment will be requested. Changes to the existing NDOT transit dashboard will not be requested. That contract sunsets June of 2026, and we cannot make any scope changes because we don't have the funding to support any additional scope changes. So the dashboard will remain as it is. The statistics that were being requested through the dashboard, like I said, we aren't going to be able to make those, but we will provide you the data and you guys can break it down from there. Then lastly, this is the last question that I had, was for fiscal 27 funding agreements and how we will be allocating that. So a few options, and from where we stand right now, there's a few options. We can do what we did for fiscal 26 and reduce what was requested until it's within the funding threshold. The other option would be taking an average of the last few years and then reduce that average until we can get within that threshold. But ultimately, I mean, we're going to struggle for fiscal 27 until we can get fiscal 25 closed out. So that is where we stand on fiscal 27. We're still anticipating the apportionment coming out March, April timeframe. So we will have a quarterly call before that happens. But I believe those were all of the questions that I had. Correct, Keita. We do not know what it will be for 26. We don't, since we don't have our fiscal 26 apportionment yet from FTA, and we don't have fiscal 25 closed out, we won't know what fiscal 27 is going to be yet. Questions?
Manny.
Sorry, that was a lot. I tried to capture all the questions that everybody had asked. And if I've missed one, or if there's another one you guys think of, don't hesitate to send it to us. But that work, so like I said, the data that I'm going to send out, it will include your total federal funds, your state funds, revenue hours, passenger boardings, mileage, and then your fares and sponsored fares is what will be included in that. And then there will be a separate tab for your fiscal 26 awards. We've also included on here what our apportionments were. I believe I included 2015 to 2025, the most current. So all that information is on here for you guys.
I have a question for you, sir.
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yep. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. I just wanted to know what the average fare is across the state that everyone's charging. Our council kind of wants to up our fares, but I want to know what everybody else is charging first.
I don't have that information. So the information that I'm going to provide you are what you guys, what everyone reported for, whether it's the regular fares or sponsored fares from 2015 up to 2025. So we've broken it down by fiscal year. So you'll be able to use that information. You could probably come up with some kind of an average, I would think.
Okay.
I don't have that data.
That's fine.
Other questions were, how will revenue from boardings be figured into the formula when we all charge different fares? Again, we're still working on the formula. We won't have that until the end of January to look at.
Okay.
Program that UNO developing, designed to make the awards more growth and performance-based. Be performance-based, yes. Other questions do we have?
Question regarding the software, like the dispatch transit software. That was a large cost to us, and it continues to be because we have to have somebody in the office like running that and making changes all the time compared to when we did it on paper. So I don't understand what information are you guys getting off of that it was made where we had to have it?
So the software, so the information that you guys get from the software, we're able to use those, the data that you pull from those. If we have to validate all of if validation issues come up, we have that now to validate that information. So NTD, when over the last, I think when I came on board the first 2 years, we had over 200 validation issues right off the bat. And then after we would submit the report, we'd have even more than that come back because there was no consistency amongst the numbers that were being reported. And so with the software, this helps validate it. And since NTD affects the apportionment, that is where that came from. I'm glad you brought that up though. So we have been getting a lot of questions about other grant options available to transit. So NDOT has, I'm not sure if you guys are aware of this, so we have the infrastructure hub. The infrastructure hub looks for grant options for transportation projects. What we've done is ask them to start looking for any grant options that would be available to that you guys could apply for. So if and when they find those, we will share those details with you guys.
Okay, yeah, that would be awesome because I know it's taken a toll on our budget because of needing so many more man hours to make sure things can get changed when something comes up, and it's just a lot more work right now with that. So
Yep, no, so I did forget to mention that. So, that'll be sent out to the masses if there are grant options available. That is where I will send it out to the listserv. But it will point you in the direction of where those would be.
all right, thank you.
Any other questions?
Sarah, this is Johnny.
Mhm.
Can you explain? I don't know if hopefully there's not too much feedback, but can you explain again? You guys are looking at how the funding will be apportioned out, and it'll be based on fares collected, boardings, and what else you believe?
So what we'd like to pull into the formula is revenue miles, revenue hours, boardings, and fares, or revenue that you receive for those rides. So that's what our goal is to pull those in, make it a little bit more make it performance based.
And
But
what
we
about,
won't have that formula draft until the end of January.
sure. And what about areas that provide service to very, very rural and frontier areas such as us, where there are a lot of deadhead miles in between our communities and the services that we provide?
As far as the formula goes,
Right.
like I said, I don't have, that is, right now, that's where we are. We're pulling it together.
Okay.
I have not seen it yet.
Okay. Thank you.
And Johnny, I think it's fair to say, you know, Sarah and UNO isn't creating this on their own. We've reached out. Sarah's reached out to a lot of other state DOTs that are looking at how they're sending their money out, and we're, most of these ideas are coming from other state DOTs. So this is not something that we've just come up with on our own.
Right. There's a lot of, different formulas and things that are out there. And so that's why I was just asking. And yeah, sometimes it's really hard to try to figure out the fairest way to do it. And
Exactly.
And which direction you want to go with it. So.
Exactly. And I think that's why Sarah is very clear that she'll be working with putting a working group together so that this isn't developed just within NDOT, and there'll be a small group that will help decide what direction this will go. I mean, we all know we have a funding shortfall. We have a problem, right? So we have to change how we do things to try to make it work best for all of our systems in Nebraska.
How will it affect someone like, I guess what I'm asking is, in my situation here at Slane, we have a multiple array of bus fares based on the routes that we do. We have in-town service for $2. We have further distances for $10, and we have a couple of ranges in between at $6 and $8, that type of thing. I'm just curious, how will our statistics simply show them as a single unit? It won't break anything down by routes?
Like I said, I've gone through multiple states, so I've provided the information to UNO. Until I see the draft, I won't have an answer to that yet. But whatever we do determine to move forward, that will be, everyone will see it, but we will have a working group brought in to review it and to provide insight into it, because you guys are the ones out in the field doing this every day. So we will have that input before anything's ever finalized. But right now I can't answer that, unfortunately. I just haven't seen it yet.
Sure. I think it'll just be really important that all the agencies have it beforehand. You know, because I think what Scott's alluding to possibly is maybe how they might want to change how they service or how they provide their services, or maybe what you might even charge, Scott, or how it might be calculated. I mean, that's what I would be looking at is, do we need to change our boarding fares? Do we need to change our structure and those sort of things? You know, there might be some forethought that needs to go in at the local level, and some changes that might need to occur there, which I think people have already been thinking about those things anyway. But I agree, yes, I think something probably does need to be done. I guess I just have a question. Is there any advocacy plans in place?
I guess I'm not sure what you're asking.
Okay, if nobody on this call knows what I'm talking about, then I'm just going to leave it there. And we'll talk about it later.
Johnny, this is Kurt.
Mhm.
Been talking with Cassandra, and we are considering a legislative trip to Washington in conjunction with CTAA, setting up meetings with our representatives up there to try and get out, just get out the word of the struggles we're having here as we're all expanding our service, and we're forced to do more with less or reduce our services. So that is something that's in the works. Trying to see if we can work that within our NATP budget. And CTA helps coordinate all that. If that's what you're meaning by advocacy plan. And one side note for folks, I don't know if you have AT&T in your area, and I'm not familiar if Verizon has any of this thing, but AT&T has a thing called Control Center. So if your tablets, your cellular bills are getting up there, we got set up with AT&T FirstNet because we are part of our local emergency operations plan. We get a really good rate. We get tablets for 99 cents. And then you actually get billed for actual usage on your tablets incrementally. And if you have backup tablets, you can actually get a special SIM card and disable those when you're not using them. Took our cell bill from between $600 and $1,000 to less than $200 a month for all of our tablets. I know we're all trying to cut expenses wherever we can, so might be worth looking into if your cellular plans for your tablets are way up there.
And Kurt, I would just like to respond to that. Thank you for sharing that. I've already made my reservations with CTAA because I think it's really important that advocacy does need to start, I think, locally. But I think sometimes NDOT's hands are tied on what they can do at the federal level. So I think it's really up to us to be the voice for our citizens and the people that we represent here in Nebraska. But it's also very important to be educated and to make sure that that there is a good message that's being shared, and that it's an informative message. It's the correct message. And also, thank you for sharing the information about the tablets. I think that's great. And also, if anybody qualifies for TechSoup, that there are some options there too as well. If you're a nonprofit, that might save you some money in that area. So I just wanted to share that. Thank you.
Brian, you had asked a question. Yes, I am happy to answer that. The TAM plan, I believe they are still waiting on about 7 surveys. So if you haven't filled out your TAM plan survey, please do so as soon as possible. I will get, as soon as I get an update from them, I meet with them tomorrow. And then the Title VI one, they are reviewing everybody's drafts. So HDR will be reaching out to you if they need, if there's something that they have flagged first. And then once they kind of get that draft, once they get the final draft done, NDOT will review it and then I'll come back to you. So I will add that when I send this data out, when I get it all cleaned up, which I'm hoping to push out on Monday, I'll include the time frame that I get from them tomorrow. Any other questions? I think the other ones were, John had asked about MDM remote care. But that was to you guys. And then Nikki pointed out Verizon gives discounts to county government as well. So I'm not seeing any other questions in the chat. But that is all I have for you. If you think of anything else, don't hesitate to reach out. Like I had mentioned, we will be, my staff will be in and out for the next 2 weeks. So if you could just make sure you CC me and June on emails, just so that we can make sure nothing gets overlooked. Otherwise, please have a holiday. Hopefully, some of you, I think, will get a white Christmas. I think the rest of, I think we're going to be getting a hot one. So kind of sad about that, but thank you all. Have a Merry Christmas. We'll see you next year.
Thanks,
Merry
Sarah.
Christmas,
Thanks, Joey, for
everyone.
the info. Appreciate it.
Bye.
Merry
Thank you.
Christmas.